Hey, welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast. Sean's going to try and control himself. It's a something cool inside of a something cool. It's like Inception. It's play the Self-Publishing Podcast Inception game. Today's show topic, it's one of those things where I could just say we're going to talk about self-promotion for introverts or something like that. But no, like I can't do that because I've seen this show title a bunch of times, and I think it came from our Facebook, our Smarter Artist group, and Heather it delights Heather so much. Like she assigned it and said, I have to assign this one because I see the name and laugh. So it was how to promote yourself and your writing if you're a grumpy git. Wouldn't you say Dave is a grumpy git?
Oh, he's a grumpy
this show is all about you guys telling me what I need to do.
Oh,
like an intervention.
So it's like worst show ever.
The next show is about you telling us what the world should do.
It's all fair.
But anyway, it's basically self-promotion for grumpy / introverted /
people who hate other people.
Yeah, there you go. People who hate other people. There you go. No. So, all right. So here's the deal with the something cool today. So I sent just a Slack to these guys and I said, I'm going to talk about something cool, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. It was a dick pic.
It was a dick pic. And I sort of just basically gave what it was. And Sean's like, well, shit, I want to talk about that too. And then I was away for a minute, but my guess is that Dave doesn't have a something cool. And Sean is like, maybe you just hop in on ours. So this is kind of a collective something cool. And Sean, why don't you give the 10,000 foot view on it? Because this is kind of all of us doing something cool together.
Yeah, this is really cool. So by the time you hear this, we would have already announced it. But as of right now, it's something that we'll talk about next week when we do our boot camp. But it's something we've been kind of behind the scenes tinkering with for all year, like 7-8 months. And it's something really cool, but it's a project where Dave, myself, and Johnny are all working. We're all working together to build stories, and in a way we haven't before. And it's been really fun. Dave, you're muted. It's been really fun.
We're working to build a better world.
We're working to build a better world, and we're storytelling together in a new way that we haven't ever. We're creating something we haven't created. I don't think anybody's created, but we're also working in a way harmonically that we haven't before, that we're building something to go forward. I know that sounds vague, but whatever, it all makes sense next week.
What a great thing. We're also doing stuff involving things.
I don't know how I'm supposed to describe what that is.
Well, what this has had us doing is, because basically Sean doesn't want to reveal what the reason we're doing this, what it is, what the structure and the purpose is. However, what the actual activity is, and this is where I was going to go with my something cool, is that we're doing more story building than we've ever done before. So Sean is doing...
Right now we're doing more story building and world building and character building than we are actual writing.
Right. So Sean is doing it at a faster pace than he's ever done it before, like more volume. And I have never done it. Dave does it, but in a different way. It kind of does
reluctantly.
Reluctantly is the adverb there. But I've never done it. I mean, I wrote my very first book just kind of, it was a gun to head sort of thing. Like I was in a job that I didn't like, and it was my escapism. And so I got through it that way. And then when I wrote Fat Vampire, it was like I had a cheat sheet to begin with because it's the vampire myth and everybody knows the vampire myth. So I didn't really need to know, like it was easy enough to pants that. And every time I've tried to purely pants something, like okay, well, I'll start with these people. It's never gone anywhere. But I've learned a lot of storytelling just working with Sean, and it happens intuitively. Like when we've listened to structure stuff, because Sean and I have been training back a lot of structure sorts of audiobooks, and I go, okay, well, we are doing that accidentally. Like it's not something I've thought about. If he doesn't stop that, I'm going to leave the show. I'm not even kidding. But I've never like thought about it purposely, and now creating these stories, creating these worlds and stuff, I've had to, and it's been really, really interesting because it has been a lot of work in getting through things, but at the same time, it feels like it's building muscle. Like this is stuff that I need to say, here's what I've done intuitively, and now break it out. Like how would you build a story from scratch and make it the sort of thing that resonates with readers and that they'll want to read the sequels if there are sequels and tell their friends about and all of that. And so that's been very, very cool for me this week and the one before.
Yeah, I have really, really enjoyed this. So this is something that I do in the company and have for years. But Johnny and I have been talking about moving to a production model at some point. And so this was, muscles that he wanted to flex for a long time. And Dave understands
Johnny's all
this.
about flexing.
Mm-hmm. I was doing it earlier.
And Dave is very much an instinctive storyteller and wants to pants. So kind of all of us being forced to apply all the things that we learned and went through during The Apprentice has been really, really cool. And so Dave is plotting out the entire story ahead of time, which is something he's never done. Like, he doesn't do that. What he does is make it up chapter by chapter. And he had a couple of very colorful analogies. Section by section. But he had a couple of very colorful analogies this week while we were talking about story structure and how it was difficult to learn to do something a different way than he's done his whole life to get a climactic result. And
you've heard the expression "different is good." That's not the way Dave sees it.
Not for Dave. But having said that, it has been so much fun to work with Dave on this because after the first call where I'm like, no, do we have to follow this structure? I was on Slack with Johnny and I said, okay, I either broke Dave or I fixed him. I really am not sure which one, but it's one of them for sure. And really, I feel like we fixed Dave. The leaps forward are just amazing.
Wait a minute. You can't make a statement like we fixed Dave. That's like we cured cancer.
Okay, no. Okay, we fixed Dave.
A little bit of headway in cancer.
Okay, all right. I kicked the can down the street like 3 houses. It's awesome.
One's also solved world hunger.
But we bandaged Dave.
Yeah, we bandaged Dave. The bleeding has stopped. It's been really good. But I just on one of these stories, I just want to share a line with everybody. This is my favorite of the week from Dave. An excerpt from Dave.
We should just do this every week.
48 hours later, the man had killed his family, eaten parts of them, and was about to kill more when Elmer put him down. And then Johnny said, "Sounds about right." And I said, "LOL." It's followed by this dispatch from Captain Obvious. "Saddest thing ever to see a family ripped to shreds by the father."
I think if he was put right to it, Dave could come up with sadder things. I was listening. I was listening to the Karma Police backstory, and Dave said that it was his goal to make stories that break people's hearts, and it was basically like, I don't want to do anything positive, leave people feeling good ever. I always want them to feel terrible afterward.
You have to feel awful before you can feel better.
You're such a delight, Dave. So what is what is it? What's your something cool?
Me?
Yep.
I don't know. It's hard to dance around it without saying what it is. I do like the challenge that is presented. I don't particularly care for how long it's taking. So my something cool is bitching about it, or
sounds about right.
Well, okay, there's got to be some good takeaway that you've had.
Oh,
right?
No, I absolutely enjoy I enjoy when it's all humming and I'm in my sweet spot, but then it's difficult at the same time. So do you feel like you are stretching a particular muscle? That's totally how Johnny's approached this. Like, God, I want to build this muscle. Well, yes, I do like rising to a challenge and being able to basically hit it out of the park. I do enjoy that. It's just the having to come up to bat over and over again. Like I felt like, okay, like after the second one, I was like, all right, this is good. I nailed it. Like I did well. Like, oh shit, I'm up to bat again. Fuck, I can't do it again.
Every time I do a new one, it's a little easier. Every time I do a new story,
yeah, me too.
It is grueling. It's been like a lot of story planning, but I get to the point where like it's kind of like you can be an intuitive musician. I'm not a musician, so maybe this is a terrible analogy. Or if you stop and think about like why certain things work, then maybe that makes you a better musician, even though you've been intuitive. And that's the way it kind of feels for me. Like I'm seeing the act breaks and the obligatory scenes in various genres, and thinking in terms of character motivation. In
scene where you have to go back because you got to the end and you're like, oh, well, that really needs to be said in this third part up here.
Yeah, but interestingly, I find that I plan stories the same way that I write rough drafts, meaning I start at the beginning and I go to the end. It's rare that I go back, which is interesting. That just must be something that's hardwired into me. But yeah, and I mean, we should probably knock it off, because I feel like unless we're going to say what it is that we're doing, this is kind of a ballbuster of a talk. But in terms of building stories, like we're just getting better at that. We're a story company.
Well, I love that we're a story company and that we're so invested in telling stories. But I love that now, after 5 years, we're stepping into telling them together, and instead of the company being partitioned. And that was one of our big goals for this year, was to start stepping into that, and we're doing that, and that's exciting to me.
All right. So I guess we should roll with talking about self-promotion if you were grumpy. But I have a late breaking dispatch asking whether there's any. I'm not even going to fuck it. I'm not even going to try it. I was going to try and shoehorn in an ad read. I'm not. It was for our own shit too, and I'm not even going to do it. So fuck all y'all. Let's just go on with the show. I felt that was going to be terrible. All right. So moving on. Self-promotion for introverts and people who are grumpy. You want to?
Well, Dave's the most grumpiest person that we know. Should he lead this conversation or say nothing? I'm not really sure.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I do find it difficult to talk about my own work. Like it's one of those things where I am both like I really enjoy like breaking down the process of how people sell things. I think I said before, like when I was younger, I wanted to be in advertising, but then I saw
I would love to see Dave in advertising.
But then I saw like the evil of advertising, and not all advertising, but I do like knowing how things work. But I am averse to selling stuff. I am averse to the insincerity that you need in order to continuously, like, you know, sell to people. Like I don't, and I don't like putting myself, like, I just want to write and that's all. Like I want to write and talk to my audience and that's it. I like having to, like, okay, now we've been talking about all this cool shit. Now here's this book that you got to buy. And I just, it's painful.
Well, I think that a few guiding principles here are maybe in order. And I mean, I don't have a problem with self-promotion. Like I'm a whore. It's totally cool. But
just to frame this, so Dave's totally on one end, Johnny's on the other end. I'm pretty firmly in the middle. I'm really good at, I think, coming up with the sales strategy, executing it. If I'm a ghostwriter, it's fine. Like in my past, when I wrote copy, it was easy. It was fine. As soon as my name's on it, it's a little bit different. I get timid, and I don't write the same. I find it hard to find that place.
Christine says bullshit. I call bullshit on you, Dave. You don't have to be insincere about selling. No, you don't. And I think there are people out there that do it well, and they are sincere. And I work with two of them. I think I just see.
Wait, which two?
I'm not
because there's a lot of us. I'm not sure who you're.
Well, a few. Okay, a few. But I think I'm so cynically hardwired that I just see the negative in everything, and I see, like, because I watch these other fuckers, like I watch like some of these skeezy ass internet marketers, and I break down.
Do you want to drop any names here, Dave?
No, and I watch televangelists, and I break down what they do.
Do you want to tell us what they rhyme with?
For televangelists, Jenny Jin. no, but yeah, I'm so hardwired to see like the horrible worst side of things that I don't ever want to even go remotely near that. And even though I I'm selling fucking books. There's nothing wrong with that at all. There shouldn't be.
Dude, the end of your funnel, is $5. That's the end of your funnel.
And your biggest criticism of people selling is that they're selling hope. You are not selling hope.
No, you're selling despair.
You are selling the realignment for poor dumb fuckers who think that there is hope.
You're selling despair like every day it's the daily special.
Okay, so this is actually to my point. Is I think that if you are a grumpy git who needs to get past this and actually try to sell some stuff, is to remember that when you are doing promotion, when you are letting people know about your stuff, you aren't selling in an aggressive way. Like it's not, because people think in terms of being sold to, which implies an aggressor and a victim. You aren't doing that as much as you're making an equitable trade. It's not, here's this thing, will you please give me money for it? In a proper transaction, both should gain. So the person who buys your book is, in theory, glad they got your book. Like they will enjoy it $3 to $5 to $8 worth of time and value. So, the buyer is receiving entertainment. It's actually skewed to think in terms of, I am going to sell and it's a zero sum. So I win and you lose. No. You both win because you both get something you want. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to sell it successfully. So, you're not duping. I think that that's something that's subconscious. I would say that most authors who are shy about promotion would never think that they thought that they were duping people when they did sell, but I think it's below the surface. You feel like you are trying to pull a fast one.
Yeah, I think it's about being really clear with your intentions. So don't hide what you really want. If you're selling A, but you actually want B, then that's duplicitous. But there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm selling my book because I want you to read it. Like I want you to buy it. I want to be able to go write the next book. Those are all, really logical things that your reader understands that. Like that's the covenant that you guys have. That's why they put their name on your list. So to say my book is out, it's time to buy it. I really hope you like this. I put everything I have into it. You're doing a disservice by not selling in that context.
I think one of the other things I struggle with, even more than selling stuff, and also one other thing I forgot to talk about was I come from sort of the sort of background where you don't talk about yourself in a positive way. Like you don't brag, basically. So like I feel like whenever I'm talking about like a book, like I'm saying, oh, this thing is awesome, and like it almost invites people to say, who the fuck are you to write a book? Like even though I've had a lot of success, I still have that little bit of in my head that just makes me not want to say anything, and that's hard to get over. But
do you feel like people are thinking, oh, he thinks he's so awesome, he's like,
yeah, I read yesterday's Gone See, like I think of the negative things about my own books and like the criticisms, and like, oh yeah, that's the asshole that wrote that book. He thinks he's good. Fuck him. Like I still think of that, even after I write something I think is great and like is almost universally like I still think of the one thing that wasn't well received.
Do you think it's ever going to be enough for you where you'll flip out or not flip out?
Flip out. What?
Clearly you're going to flip
Last
out.
Week.
But I mean, you flip the script so that you realize that 98% or even 90%, people really enjoy what you're doing that are on your list, and there are going to be naysayers on it, but it's just part of the math, and that's okay.
I feel like if I ever do feel that I'm really good, then I'll probably immediately start sucking. So I think I kind of need to feel that I suck in order to prove over and over that I don't.
So you need the adversity, much like Eminem.
Yeah.
So actually, I think I remember we talked about this before, and my example actually was at the time Eminem, because there was a new album about to come out. And just another reframe, because again, a lot of this is mental, it's not tactical, is to keep in mind that the people who joined your list or who are paying attention to you, the people who will receive your message are there because they want to get the next thing. So in my example, like there was if dude had a pre-order like notification list or something where I didn't want to miss it. Like I had Sean, hey Sean, dude, tell me when that comes out because I don't want to miss it. because I wanted to make sure that I got something. And if you are actually doing people a disservice if you don't let them know. Like, I've been dying for the next Monstrous or whatever, and if you didn't tell me that was out, you fucker, like, you're actually harming their intentions.
Yeah, I think you need to be a big cheerleader for yourself because because then you can be a cheerleader for everybody else.
I have the outfit.
I just came back from an event last weekend, and it jazzed me. Like, I came back pretty excited, and Jen was saying, that's good. Like, I like that you came back excited, because now you bring that to everybody else. You bring that to the team, and I think there's truth to that. And Johnny was telling me that for the last month. Every time I bitched about having to travel, he's like, fuck you, dude. Get over yourself. Bring that back. Bring that energy back. And I think it's the same when you're selling stuff. If you're excited about the thing that you made, then you are the only person in the world who can get that ball started. You're the one who has to say, look at this awesome thing that I just made, and I want to share it. You have to get people excited to share it with you, because otherwise, what's the point? How are you trying to broadcast? Because otherwise you could just, stick with your manual typewriter in a cave and never, get substantial work out there for either, broadcast or anything else.
I would rather just other people talk about the things I'm doing.
But when has that ever happened for you?
I just want Entertainment Weekly to just write about what Dave's up to, so I don't have to.
Well, maybe they will, but we have to get there first.
Oh, I want to do that. I didn't know that was an option. Dave, can you just check into that? Because I want to get on that.
In fact, Dave, don't even waste your time. Heather can get in it. Heather, can you look into that for us?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Heather, can you make sure that you forward all easy buttons to Dave's? That's David at Sterling and Stone. David, not Dave. David at Sterling and Stone.
Dave does not exist.
No, Dave's not here, man. So what other value can you add? So the idea is, like, what tips can you provide? A lot in Dave, in your emails, one of the things that we'll see a lot is maybe stuff you didn't know about the genre that you loved, or check this thing out, or, like, you are providing value in terms of not just background for what it is that inspired you, but you're on the Collective Inkwell list, so you might be interested in this other thing if you check this out. Almost to the detriment sometimes of the primary message, right? But you are providing other value as long as it's overwhelming.
Yeah, Dave, do you want to talk about how many links should go in an email?
You go ahead and you tell that story.
Well, I once commented, I think, to Sean, that Dave could teach a masterclass in burying the lead. So in copywriting terms, burying the lead means there's something that you're trying to get across and get people to know. And if you bury it, then it's way down where nobody's ever going to see it. And there's been times when I'm like, oh, look at this really cool email from Dave. I get all the way to the end, like this big long ass thing. It's like, P.S. new book.
Yeah, I did. I remember I did after the Super Bowl. I did like a thing where I like posted a bunch of links to videos and shit. This was like a year or two ago.
Yeah, we just told this story on the email shows that we did a couple weeks ago, but it's worth repeating because it's such a cautionary tale. And I feel like this is the kind of trap that a lot of authors step in because they're timid. They don't want to make a sales email, but your sales email should be very, very direct. It's just a very short paragraph, a product description, whatever it is. This is the book. And then here's the link, a little bit more. Here's the link again. Goodbye. P.S. Here's the link. But it's all the same link. And Dave's, it was post Super Bowl, and it was a book release. Like, we actually, this was our book release email, and it had all about the Super Bowl. And there were probably 30 links in there. Like it's the kind of email you save to read later over like a month or so. Like, oh, whenever I need something to read, I'm going to pull out the Dave email because there's lots of links I can follow.
So it's almost like of entertainment.
Right. He sent them his post Super Bowl scrapbook and then said, turn the pages, enjoy.
Here's a bunch of stuff you could be doing instead of reading my new book.
Yes. I mean, that could have been the headline.
But it's not just the links to emails. Like, there have been a bunch where there's a lot, just text, like not even links. And you get to the end and you go, oh, new book. Because I think that that's a thing that you do, not you specifically, Dave, but somebody who's averse to self-promotion. You do it because you want to establish another reason for sending the email and then sneak in, psst, got a new book, because you don't want people being pissed at you for selling.
But the thing you have to remember, and I think this is super important, and I don't think that Dave always remembers this, is that the most important thing is to not waste your reader's time. So that means the email has to be good. If you're telling a story, use all the words necessary to tell the story. If it's really just about buy the book, then the best thing you can do for them is, hey, here's the book you've been waiting for. Here, they don't need a big, long story in that context. They need the information.
So if I have this heartbreaking story about a suicide of somebody close to me, and I just tell this entire story, I shouldn't use that to sell the book.
Well, I mean, I know you could use it as a joke, yeah. but promotion done right requires multiple exposures.
Right. I would send that before the book is out. But yes, I would send that.
Yeah, by the way, my book is
we typically have a 3 email sequence for new launches. So the first email is the last I'll work at these in reverse order because there's kind of a thing here. So the last email is it's almost literally, hey, this book is going up in price tomorrow, or this book is available. Like, it's something very, very direct, and it's just a paragraph and a link, and that's it. Because there are different kinds of email readers, and a lot of people will see a long email and not think, ooh, story value. They'll think, fuck, I don't want to read that. And it's just like getting just a link, like you need that email for those people, and it doesn't waste time. So for the people who want to release, it's right there, right? Just click a link. And then the middle email typically that I do is the most narrative, the most story-based. If it's the one where if your book is about a suicide and you have a touching story about a suicide, as Dave was saying in a joke, like that's
Aren't all Dave's stories about suicide touching?
That would be the one where you're basically establishing what the book means to you, or it's the one where you can bury the lead the most. Although I, again, tend to have it up front. Hey, our new book is out, and then you highlight that or the name of the book and you link it, and then you tell the story, and then you have it again. So at least there's a link up top. And then the first email that we send, this is again just my preference, is a hybrid. Like it usually has the book cover, it has multiple links, it does talk a little bit about the book, but not as much as the second email. And I think in that way, you're getting the multiple audiences, right? Like the kind of people who just want a quick hit, the people who really want to read, and you are delivering value in a number of ways.
See, I tend to, I enjoy conversational emails. Like I've always wanted to write column. I did write column for a little while when I was at the newspaper. I enjoy that sort of bonding and sharing with an audience. But then, when it comes time to actually sell, I'm like, oh fuck! And I just see I in my head, people didn't sign up to hear about the books. They signed up to get some other value, just the conversation to learn.
So do you not believe it?
I just want to pause right there. You're saying people signed up to your book imprints list not to hear about the books?
Well, it's weird because sometimes when people unsubscribe, at least in the old system we'd had, they could list the reason why. I don't see it on these unsubscribes, and people would be like, I don't like being sold to, and it just reinforces my fear of
okay, you're a grumpy git, and I would say this for anybody, but especially for never look at those ever.
Christine says we hide them from you. No, I don't want them hidden. I want to see every negative.
But why? But Dave, that does not serve you at all. All it keeps you is in your head, which costs you money.
I want to know why.
And not serving the people who remain on the list, which are the ones you care about.
Oh my God, Dave!
I want to know why the people that won't date me are rejecting me.
Dave, you are so broken. Beautifully broken.
Could we pass out feedback forms for everybody in your town? And every time anybody walks by you, just have somebody follow behind you and they'll collect the cards as to why they would not date you or be friends with you, even if they never thought about it. They're just walking by. Like, hey, psst, that guy just went by. What do you think? Hot, right?
Yeah.
But I think that maybe, I don't know, maybe this is a tip that would work, is maybe split your promotions into 2 things. Some are just, not literally, because I think I know what maybe is going to come next. The emails where you tell a story, and then the ones that are salesy they're just a quick hit. Hey, this new book is out, boom. But now I'm realizing that we may get into the discussion of the to-list thing that we've discussed ad nauseum, right?
No.
Dave wants a list that's
Can we never talk about that again?
Pure new releases and people.
It's every like, I don't know, 3 months or something, Dave dusts off that whole argument. Shouldn't we just have multiple lists?
Okay, okay. So when an email goes out and you get like 20 unsubscribes or something for that email, I'm like, well, those people probably just wanted updates on the book. They don't want all this. They don't want the other parts of the email. They don't want the stories. They don't want the behind the scenes. They just want to know when the fucking book is coming out.
But they can get that information from Amazon, and maybe...
Yeah, Amazon's really useful with that, letting you know when a book's coming out.
They've actually been good about it lately, but that's not even the point. That's not even the point, dude. It's like, what... If you're... Okay, how well are you doing managing one list? Now you're going to manage two?
Well, I mean... I don't think that's difficult. Like, they would just get the sales letter.
And if you give somebody a choice, they're going to like. Okay, we've had this back and forth for 5 years, including the last 2 email episodes. So we don't need to do this now. But yeah, that's a terrible idea.
All right. Well, that's why I'm not the salesperson here.
All right, so
I would send out 1 email a year.
So other potential ideas. Getting into these are like, I'm thinking of this section as like quick hit tips for people who don't like the idea of self-promotion. Getting into a discussion that already exists out there on the web, in a forum, on something like that, without being a salesy dick, where you're just constantly like, buy my book, but join the discussion. Like, that is a subtle self-promotion. If it's appropriate, which in a lot of cases it's not, starting a genre podcast.
Yeah, don't ever promote your book like on some Reddit. Like, I've seen people do that. Like, they've never posted on Reddit before, and they'll promote their book. Like, oh, they just get murdered.
Of course they do.
Because nobody likes that asshole who isn't part of the community and comes in and says, buy my shit. However, if somebody is a part of a community, they are receptive, which is the point, typically. Yeah. And the idea, again, of a podcast. So, like, if you were a fantasy author and you had a podcast on Game of Thrones, I mean, there's a lot of questions about whether something like that is worth the squeeze, basically.
Yeah. Well, I think was it Chris Fox's book?
Yeah, he did talk about this stuff.
Yeah. So he talked about just, the ROI of your time. And if you're not, so actually, I think this does make sense for somebody like Dave, who, if he wasn't partnered with us, where we did do more list building and outreach type of stuff like that, a solution for Dave might be to go hang out in forums where people like him are plotting the destruction of the world or whatever they do. And then maybe,
people who hate people forum.
Right. People who hate people. But he would be talking about like a lot of the like Stranger Things and the things that he likes and things like that. So that could make a lot of sense. But it's watering holes. Go where the people are. Go where the people who you most identify with, so that marketing turns into conversation. Because Dave's best marketing isn't even sales. It's just him talking about the things that he's passionate about. That works really well for Dave when he separates himself enough to just do it and not think of it as anything other than engaging his readers.
If you do decide to start a podcast or a mailing list or a blog in support of your fiction, I'm not talking about just like a new release list, but like you want to start that discussion, don't do it without writing instruction.
No.
We're managing 2 sides of that, but like, we've also heard cautionary tales from people who say, well, I started talking about my writing and
yeah, but even us, it's a cautionary tale, really. I mean, if we had, our year would have been different if we were just focused on fiction. We do it for reasons and we have a cause and it's important to us. But if we were just focused on making our fiction careers, then we would focus on our fiction careers. So that is always a dubious market, unless it's absolutely what you want to do. Know your why there, absolutely.
Watch your time on this one, because it can become a rabbit hole. But engage in discussion with your fans. Encourage replies. I think, based on everything I've heard, Dave is magnitudes better on this than certainly I am. So we'll always hear stories about, I get a lot of emails when I get about a book and blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's because your books are so, like, they just punch you in the chest repeatedly. Maybe that's why people feel the need to email you when they don't for us as much. But that discussion is really valuable too. Now, of course, it's one-to-one, so not a lot of leverage there. But again, we're talking like, is that better than nothing? Yes, as long as it's moderated correctly.
Dave, what do you do more? What do you bitch about more? When no one emails you or when too many people email you?
I like email. If I'm super busy though, and we just suddenly get slammed, I don't like tech request emails. Like, oh fuck, those are pain. We don't get those as much though since we've been using the book funnel. My God, those were awful. I enjoy emails. There are times though that I'll like take an hour to write an email, and I feel
we've never done that.
Yeah, I absolutely enjoy the
Dave, are you more likely to spend an hour on an email with somebody who says something nice to you or something unkind to you?
Fuck you.
I'm just curious.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the only time I don't like email is like when I'm just slammed and I don't have to, because I like personal response. I like to talk to people. But what happens is...
How ironic.
I know. It is weird that I hate people, but also I like talking to them one-on-one. I hate mass of people, I think is what I'm trying to say. But what happens is like sometimes like an email will do better than I expect, and like 40 people or 50 people will email me like in a few hours, and I don't have time to read them all immediately and get back to them, so they just kind of sit and I can't get to them, and then it just becomes like this weight on me, like, oh God, oh fuck, I got to get to those, but I got this and I got this, and I like start like it's anxiety inducing.
Wait, why don't you just...
Before Sean replies to that, I just have to pull this out because I forget the number and it was great. Dave, how many unread emails are in your inbox right now? Do you remember this discussion, Sean?
Which email?
The one you're most proud of.
On my business email, there's 1,716. On my personal, there are 32,000 plus.
Wow.
So you might as well not even have an inbox.
What the hell? How do you...
Zero inbox means nothing to me.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
This is like trying to move a rocket through space by blowing on it.
So
Christine says, how can someone with OCD tolerate that? In that OCD is interesting in that you go to extreme sides. Like you are extremely like zero inbox, or you just fucking let it all go because you know you cannot possibly get to it all. So I go towards that end.
You're a magical flower. So let's redirect and get back to promotion for grumpy gets. So I think that again, we're beating the collaboration drum because that's what works for us. But I think one of the things that works for Dave really well, honestly, is having me and Johnny. So finding partners that are comfortable with I think there's two pieces here. Finding partners that can do the parts that, you're not as comfortable with. So for me, that's Johnny. For Dave, that's me. Right. Right. We escalate a little bit there, but also just knowing who you are so that when you do find somebody who, can help you and kind of get you out of your shell or tailor the right, marketing approach for you, then they know who you are and what you're trying to accomplish so that they don't give you a lot of really bad advice because, I'm sorry, Dave just wrote something funny in Slack. I can't help but laugh. But you're not going to get like a bunch of this just rotten advice that tells you to go do something that you're not comfortable doing. You're never going to do that. And all it's going to do, even if you follow it, is come off really like insincere and awkward. And insincere, awkward marketing is like painful. Like it's just the worst. You don't ever want to see anything like that. So anyway, I think that knowing who you are so that you can know who you want and then design the right, marketing plan for yourself that fits your personality and your goals is the way to go about it. Not looking for this is how you market a book. And because I don't think there is a right way to market anything, especially not something as personal as a book.
Jackie says, I help my brother-in-law sell his artwork because he can't handle rejection, whereas it means nothing to me if someone says no.
Yeah, I think you have to be able to handle rejection to effectively sell your stuff, because if you are in a position where you're taking it personally and you don't want to sell because a knock on your art is a knock on you, then it's going to be really hard to get out there and do what needs to be done, because you're going to be so raw and vulnerable.
So you're saying you should not create a list of everybody that is said something negative about your book?
I think it tends to be counterproductive. I think that part of the joy of collaboration is that you really do, because you're always bouncing ideas back and forth, you just don't have an ego about it. It just doesn't matter. So, like Dave will tell me if he doesn't like an idea, either by saying straight up, I don't like that idea, by changing the subject, or by being quiet. Like either of those three things, I know it's time to find another idea for him to make him happy. And like reading that is good, but
the idea or change the topic. I got this really great idea. Man, did you see those Emmys last night?
We have 5 years together, so I'm really able to anticipate that, and we roll. But I think that focusing on that is kind of essential.
Other ways that you can promote if you are grumpy and you are not interested in promotion. Being real with people, right? I think so much of it is mindset change. So much of it is you're doing a lot of mechanically the same things, but you're doing them with, okay, so here's the worst thing in the world. Let's do this, not the worst thing in the world, the worst thing in terms of promotion. Okay, so the ideal might be promoting something with enthusiasm that you're excited about. Less ideal is not promoting at all. And then the worst is promoting and apologizing for shit. Just stop it. You might as well not even promote.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides of that are really bad. Promoting and being unapologetic, if you're kind of a dick, then is terrible. Like we've all seen these emails that from people who are just hammering you to buy shit that you don't want and you didn't sign up for their list.
Those make up 1,000 of those unread emails, by the way.
Yes. Yes. And there's somebody who's
wrong.
Yeah, go ahead. Just joking. So one of these lists that I'm on right now is
one
like
particular person he's thinking of.
There's somebody, it's not who Dave's thinking of, but there's somebody else that Dave is usually thinking of who just had a launch, and I'm on their list, and I subscribe every single time I get this email, and I still keep getting the emails. And
you unsubscribe? You said you
yeah.
subscribe. Yeah.
No, I unsubscribe every time one of these emails comes in, because it's like a game. Like how much longer are they going to send me shit? And well, through the launch sequence, that's for sure.
I think technically you can report them for that.
Yeah, but whatever.
I'm sure
Dave will do it for me.
Yeah.
I'll use their bandwidth.
Yeah, he will use their bandwidth. So I don't think you want to be that guy either, because to me, I've lost all respect for this person. Like, stop it. If somebody tells you they don't want to be on your list, like, don't be a dick and send them emails. Now, sometimes stuff happens. It's email software. I get that. I'm sure we've sent emails to people who have unsubscribed, but never on purpose. And I am positive that if somebody unsubscribes every day for a month, they stop getting our emails. So, you don't want to be that person, but you also don't want to be, sorry, I know you don't want to hear from me, but my book is out today, and I thought I'd have to tell you because, my book is out today. I'm sorry. Bye. Like, and CI has had a couple of, like, I'm paraphrasing, but we've had a couple
verbatim,
of
actually.
Yeah. So that's not ever, that's never going to be a good situation. It's embarrassing for you. It's embarrassing for the reader. Even the reader is reading that like, well, not only am I not going to get the book now, like this guy eats alone
either.
Right. So I think that's something to navigate also.
There's something I was going to say, and I totally forgot about it. I forget what it was. Pick me up. What was it?
Wow, you're a dynamo.
I know. I really am. No. Okay. The like last chance email, since we sort of mentioned this, they're not manipulative, like, because that's, again, I think a lot of this comes down to you feel like you're manipulating people even if you aren't. You feel like you're bothering people even if
actually that's a good point. Let's stick with that, because we talked a lot about the last chance email during those I think both email episodes, right? So Dave, let's home in on that one a little bit. That makes you extra uncomfortable, those last chance emails, right? Because It is so pure selling.
Right. And we actually had a debate about this, and I actually wrote about it for the newsletter that's coming up in a few weeks. But we had a debate like when we were, I forget what book launch it was. It was a smaller book launch, though. And I sent the email, and you're like, okay, awesome. You sent the email. Send another one telling them, last chance, because it was on sale. That's why the last chance you can get it. And I'm like, no, why? We already told our list. These people have been waiting for the book. If I did my job, then they bought it on day one. So sending a last chance email is like reminding somebody of something that they already knew about, and you're just annoying them at this point. You're like, hey, remember. And
because you're thinking rationally.
You're nagging, and I hate people that nag.
Yes, but you're thinking rationally. That's not how email marketing works.
Correct. I have now learned this because Sean made me send the other one, and we actually sold more on the last chance than we did on the one that people were waiting for. And that kind of shocked me, the consumer behavior there, although I guess it shouldn't have.
Well, especially since I've been telling you for 5 years.
Well, and I'm also cynical. And
right. So, but with all of this stuff, I think the thing is, if you're, you don't have to be a grumpy git to be uncomfortable with selling. I think that is it's a thing. Like, some people are just natural salespeople and other people aren't. My friend Lori, she could sell anybody to anything at any given time. And I'm just like, that's really hard. Like, just stop it. Slow down. Stop talking so fast. Because
why, you said that?
Me? Oh I
you told someone to stop talking fast?
You've seen me with Lori. Who's the slow talker between us, right? So I think that when somebody's constantly selling, you do wonder, like, are they selling to me right now? And so people who aren't natural salesmen, like, that makes us uncomfortable. We don't want to do that. So the way around that is to know who you are and not try to be artificial, not try to artificially construct, this is how I'm going to sell. And you can't sit there and, stare in the mirror and repeat affirmations over and over. I will sell more. Annette Bening in
American Beauty.
In American Beauty, right. I will sell this house today. I will sell this house. And she's squeegeeing the windows and all that. Yeah, I think positive affirmation can do wonderful things for you and put you in the right mindset. But I don't think it's a solution. I think the solution is coming up with strategies that make you feel comfortable, that you can step inside and say, you know what, I can speak to my audience in this particular way. And I'm going to try that, even if it's a little uncomfortable. And I'm going to see what my results are. And then I'm going to try something else and just kind of stack those.
Now, I will say that the whole last chance, like, I have an issue with the last chance emails that info marketers use, because it is a false scarcity sort of model. But with the books, it is an actual last chance, because you only can sell it at a cheap amount for a limited time. Otherwise, you're not going to make any money on the book, and you got to pay your bills. So it is a valuable last chance sort of thing. And there's also like, I think of myself now, because I really had to examine, why are these people buying it on the second one instead of the first one? And I think of myself, I read a lot of email on my iPad, and I won't act on it on the iPad because I'm not. Typically, if I'm going to buy something, it's going to be on my browser, not on my iPad. Or I'll respond on my computer, not my iPad. So a lot of times, like, I'll read something on my iPad and put it off, and I'll forget about it. And I think that happens. A lot of people see, like, oh, okay, they found out about our book. They're reading it on their phone or whatever, but they're not going to buy. Maybe they don't have Kindle on their phone, whatever. I don't know. So there are legitimate reasons to email people again. And
what changes the threshold, right? So if you see this book just came out, it's going to be low price for a week, then you can put it off. If you see it's going up tomorrow, then you're like, fuck, I have to do it. So even if I have to do it on my phone or walk to my computer, I'm going to do it. But I think I
think the key is to not be a dick about it, right? You've seen those emails where, sorry, I made a mistake, right? And it's telling you, like, that last email shouldn't have gone out, or there's some
sell enough of whatever you're trying to sell. That's the truth.
Yeah, there's something duplicitous about the email, and you just kind of know, and you can smell that, and that's not cool at all. So just like have your thing set ahead of time. This is the sequence. Tell a story. If it's really difficult for you to sell in a long email and feel like that's too uncomfortable, then don't do a sideways sales letter where you have 4 little short, emails, and each one ties into the next and tells your larger story and ends with this is why I wrote the book and I'm sure you're going to like it. And here's the link.
And I would just maybe close by saying that, apologetic and self-deprecating can to some degree work if you build it into a character and a style.
Yes.
So,
Dave could get away with that if he was more intentional about how he did it.
Because there's theatrical self-deprecating and then there's genuine. So I don't know if this is the best example in the world, and I'm actually not even on his list, but you guys have forwarded me stuff. Louis C.K.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to use this earlier. Exactly.
Right. I mean, I remember one in particular. This actually isn't a great example of my point, but it is to Louis' style, where I think the actual email on a screen was, this much. And then the PS was all about how he doesn't think anybody should vote for Trump. And it went on for pages.
Oh, yes. That was the best email.
Right. Yeah. It had nothing to do whatsoever with what he was selling.
It was a diatribe. It was like 80 pages long.
But I gave him that tip on how to not email.
But he could get away with an email that said something like, so, my agent is, insisting that I tell you about this so that I won't slit my wrists when the returns come back and blah, blah, blah. Like you could get away with that if it was tongue in cheek, but people can smell tongue in cheek in character versus this person really doesn't believe in their stuff. Like Louis believes in his stuff. I mean, come on, even if he has that character.
Yeah, you have to if you're a stand-up comedian.
Right. So anyway, hopefully that made some of you a little less grumpy. Dave, you feeling less grumpy?
Like a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay, we'll get it back up because we have worst show ever next.
Yes, I will.
Very important. So thanks everybody for listening to Self-Publishing Podcast. I'll just add that the summit we still have summit tickets available. If you haven't gotten your summit ticket yet, maybe you should do that. SmarterArtistSummit.com. Getting speakers lined up. It's getting kind of cool. And I guess that's it. So we'll see you. Do you know that I just sold something? Did you just see that? Last chance.
I did. That was a last chance too.
SmarterArtistSummit.com. Sorry, I made that last CTA too early.
You're a snaky pile of shit, Johnny B. Truant.
This whole hour has just been to sell that.
That's right. P.S. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.